Life.
The Old Man and the Girl on the Pond.
I've owned that farm for most of my life. Decades, really. Long enough that the land feels less like property and more like an extension of my own body. Every fence post, every tree, every bend in the dirt road holding a memory. At the far end of the farm, nearly out of sight from the house, there's a pond. I dug it out years ago with help from neighbors and borrowed machinery. I shaped it carefully, wide and smooth, deep at one end, shallow at the other. Back then, I had plans. I wanted it to be a place of rest, so I fixed it up nice. I put picnic tables under the shade. I set up a couple of horseshoe courts. I planted apple trees on one side and peach trees on the other, thinking of summers that would stretch on forever. For years, family and friends would come down there to swim, laugh, eat, and forget about time. But as life tends to do, things got busy. Seasons passed, people moved on. And before I realized it, I hadn't been down to the pond in a long while. One evening, just before sunset, I decided it was time. I grabbed a big white bucket from the shed, figured I'd pick some fruit while I was there, and started the long walk down the path. The air was warm, cicadas buzzing, the sky painted orange and gold. My knees weren't what they used to be, so I took my time. As I got closer to the pond, I heard something unexpected. Before we continue with the video, make sure to follow and subscribe for more funny stories. Laughter. Not the distant kind carried by wind, but close, real, loud, happy. Voices shouting and splashing, full of energy I hadn't felt in years. I slowed my steps. When I reached the edge of the trees, I saw what was going on. There were several young women in my pond, swimming and laughing freely, completely unaware of me at first. They had clearly assumed the place was abandoned, or at least forgotten. I cleared my throat and stepped forward so they could see me. Instantly, everything changed. The laughter stopped. Water splashed hard as they all hurried toward the deep end of the pond, eyes wide, faces shocked. One of them looked straight at me and shouted, half embarrassed and half defiant, "We're not coming out until you leave." I stood there quietly for a moment, leaning on my bucket, letting the situation settle in my mind. Then I frowned, not in anger, but in mild irritation. "Ladies," I said calmly, "I didn't come down here to watch you swim naked, and I sure didn't come down here to make you get out of the pond naked either." There was silence. They exchanged glances, clearly unsure what to think of me now. I raised the big white bucket so they could see it clearly. "I'm just here," I said, "to feed the crocodile." For a split second, nothing happened. Then the pond exploded with motion. Water churned, arms flailed. There was shouting, scrambling, splashing like I'd never seen. In less time than it takes me to bend down and tie my boots, every single one of them was out of that pond and running toward the trees, grabbing whatever they could along the way. I watched them disappear down the path, shaking my head. When the place was quiet again, I walked over to the apple tree, picked a few ripe ones, and dropped them into my bucket. No crocodile, of course, but some old men, even with creaky knees and white hair, can still think fast. And that pond, well, I had it all to myself again.
For more funny videos, follow and subscribe Happy Life.
Happy Life.